Hey, what's up everybody, this is Tattoo Bart and welcome to this video. In today's episode we're gonna review a tattoo machine by Wormhole. It's a Wormhole Pro Boots, I believe, or that's at least a name I see in this box. It's a stroke adjustable kind of machine that we have seen many times before on my channel, but this one definitely has some pretty cool features that are different from some of the other tattoo machines that I've reviewed. So without further ado, let's just dive down and have a look at this machine. So right here we got the box. It has a pretty cool opening, and you can see right here we got the machine and a spare battery. Pretty cool design. And then here we got the user manual and a charging cable. So pretty straightforward, the same as many of these stroke adjustable machines. It's adjustable from 4.2 all the way down to 2.4. Now 2.4 to 3.0 or 3.3 is usually where you do very soft shading. 3.6 and 3.9 is pretty much fine lining. You could also do some shading with that. And then 4.2 is really that bold lining, bold packing, and bold, like more like pepper shading kind of stuff. Now you are able to fine tune it. There are a couple of lines in between the strokes. It doesn't really snap into place. You do feel it click a little bit. You can hear it a bit. But especially if you're like kind of in between these strokes, it doesn't really click into place. And I do feel like it clicks a little bit more at the lower end of the stroke than on the higher end. Not that it really matters. Here you can adjust your grip for your needle depth. If you take that off, you can see that when you adjust your stroke, this thing starts to slide. You could undo this screw and you can see what the motor looks like. I already know what it looks like. It's kind of like that disc kind of drive that we pretty much seen on all these styles of machines. Now this is where it starts to get a bit more interesting. Of course you got the power on button, the voltage up and the voltage down, and then here you have an M, and the M is for mode. And at first I thought the mode was to switch between a liner and a shading, between a liner and a shading setting, which is definitely not the case. If you turn it on, you can hear it's very quiet. And then if you hold that mode button for 5 seconds or 3 seconds, you can see NPS. I guess it starts for needle per second. If you are in this mode, if you push the plus button, you can adjust the frequency. So it's kind of like a frequency mode. Now if you want to toggle through those modes, you just press the M button, and there's like 4 different settings. So this is 12 volts, 170 hertz. Now if you press that button again, it goes to the hertz, and you can actually adjust it by hertz. Toggle through these modes. Now it's NPS, and you can hear this is like perfect if you do dot work. If you press that again, you can of course adjust it, so it'll increase the penetration or the needle protrusion per second, and it can go as low as 1 per second, but it's pretty soft. Now you'll also be able to adjust the voltage. Now I guess this has to do a little bit with how hard it actually hits. So you can have it really soft and really slow to work with. So I think that's a pretty cool feature. Pretty cool feature to use, especially if you do a lot of dot work or if you like to do very peppery kind of shading. So we're definitely going to test that out a little bit. Now this battery you can remove by just pulling it off. It has these ball bearings to click it on, and of course you have your spare battery that you can put on as well. Now I have been testing this machine a little bit on practice skin, and that frequency mode is something that's pretty interesting, especially because you can adjust your voltage and the speed of your needle separately. It might be for a different kind of style of tattooing that I would use. I mean, it is nice if you do that, for example, mandala, and you have to do that dotted line where you're gonna fill in with your dots. You could use that mode to just dot those lines a little bit faster than poke them by hand or machine dot them. manually. But yeah, to cycle through those modes and do all that is a little bit overrated in my experience. Maybe if you do permanent makeup and things like that, this would actually be a cool feature, but I don't know about that. I'm just looking from my perspective, what I like to use whenever I'm tattooing. It is not something I would use. What I would use is, because you have that NPS mode and the hertz, I always do like to get a hertz reading whenever I'm tattooing. I figured out when I used it around the 8 volts, it's actually very nice for my line work. I prefer that a little bit more than a higher range. So even with a 14 round liner at the 4.2 millimeter stroke, it was putting in these lines effortlessly. I do have to say, but this is all based on my experience on practice skin, um, it wasn't as smooth in the shading as what I've had with different machines like this. But of course, sometimes it's just the practice skin that's pretty rough and you don't get the shades how you actually want them to be. So I'm definitely going to take this thing to work and use it on some real skin, and of course videotape that process for you as well. Now, another really cool feature on this machine is that they've actually made that grip a little bit more heavy. So it's a little bit more balanced to the front, because I remember with a lot of these machines that have their battery on the back, it's kind of heavy towards that back. And then if you are working with it for a long time, I always have my thumb cramping up from trying to keep that weight forward a little bit more. With this machine, it's definitely not the case. It's a pretty heavy grip where you can just hold on to it and work with it, and it's actually pretty nice. I do think what would have been a cool feature is if they actually put like a separate grip in maybe a different shape in the box, or if you have like a more like luxury box of this machine that you can get a couple of different shape grips, because I am personally not the biggest fan of this shape of grip, but that's all personal preference. But I do really like the weight that they put a little bit more towards the front. Now, the stroke adjustments on this machine work absolutely smooth. I do think they should stiffen this up a little bit, so make it a little bit harsher to adjust your stroke, because when you are adjusting your grip, you're also automatically adjusting your stroke length. So that's something that's not necessarily bad, but something you have to be aware of whenever you're adjusting your grip, to hold on to that stroke adjustments, or at least check if your stroke is still at the set stroke that you were using when you were tattooing. Now, all in all, this is a very nice machine to work with, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have a lot of fun using this. So if you like this video and enjoyed or learned something from the video I did today, make sure you give me a thumbs up, like this video, and subscribe to my channel, because I do have a lot more videos to come, and by that you don't miss any of these videos out. Of course, if you are interested in any of their machines, I will link it in the description down below so you can have a look at it. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot more to say, other than I wish you all a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.